Hi, my name is Dave with SafeMind. This is our range safety brief that we're going to go through so that when you show up to the range to train, we'll have a safe, effective, and efficient training environment so that you can get the most out of today's training. So as soon as you show up to the range, I'd like you to pull into the parking lot. You're going to come over to the Ramada near the range and make sure that your firearm is cased at all times. So you're going to have your gun in your case, you're going to have all of your equipment with you. Go ahead and put it on the table and we'll conduct an end brief so that we can discuss what the objectives are for that day's training. At that time, we'll go ahead and we'll holster up. We'll put your firearm in the holster, we'll ensure that it's clear, we'll load magazines, and we'll just get all of our equipment ready for the range. For the range layout, we're going to be here on Practical Pistol C at Ben Avery. Right behind me, we'll have restrooms, so you can use the restroom, you can wash your hands, you can do whatever you need there. And then the area that we'll be standing in to get ready, we call that the ready area. And in the ready area, I'm going to ask you to not handle a firearm at all. So once we put it into the holster, it does not come out of the holster until we have cleared it on the range and we're ready to exit the range. However, you can load your magazines, you can prepare your gear, leave your magazines in your gun, don't pull it out, don't put a new one in. We'll do all that out on the firing line. We operate what's known as a hot range. And as I just mentioned, once we load a firearm, we treat that firearm as if it's loaded. So the only time that we're going to bring it out of the holster is when we're actually on the firing line. The firing line will be up near the targets, and when we get up there, I'm going to go ahead and walk through what the range limits are. So essentially, the only appropriate target will be the targets that are presented to you. The left limits will be the left side of that target, right limits will be right side of the target, top and bottom of the target will be the top and bottom limits respectively. Let's review the rules of firearm safety. And these are going to be very important for us to, again, work in a safe and also an efficient manner. Let's take a look at those. The first rule that we have is always know the condition of your firearm. So before you go out on the range or before you do any administrative handling of the firearm, clear the firearm. You'll do that by releasing the magazine out of the gun, locking the slide to the rear, visually and by touch inspecting inside of the magazine well, then inside of the chamber. Only at that time can you determine that a firearm is clear. So always know the condition of your firearm. Number two, always point your firearm in a generally safe direction. That's a slight modification from the typical rule that we hear about not pointing at anything we don't intend to destroy. However, that would not allow us to perform any dry practice because we typically do that at home, we do that in our office, we do that in some other sterile environment where we're pointing it at a wall, we're pointing it at other objects. So just point your firearm in a generally safe direction. Number three is keep your finger off the trigger until you're on target and ready to fire. So even if you're on target but you're not ready to fire, it only takes a fraction of a second to move that finger to the trigger and apply the pressure and press off a round. So keep that finger off the trigger and on target until you're on target ready to fire. Let's keep that finger up as high on the gun as possible. So up typically where the frame and the slide join together. And number four is always be aware of your target and everything around it. That's important whether we're on a dedicated shooting range, when we're out hunting, whatever that is, a defensive use of force situation, always be aware of that target. So you must be able to identify your target before you point your firearm at it, and particularly before you shoot at that target. So the next section will be the range rules. And we talked about the different areas of the range where we can perform different tasks. Once we get up on the line, we're going to walk through the range commands and as far as being able to fire, holster your gun, and I'll walk through those and I'll show those to you so that you have an understanding of what those are. It's going to be very important for you to know where you are and where others are at all times. Always be aware of your surroundings. There are times where someone inadvertently walks down range while other people have their firearms out of the holster. So just keep your eyes open, make sure that you know where others are. You're aware, you're responsible not only for your safety, but for the safety of everybody else on the range. If you need to dry fire or do any firearm manipulation, again, we'll do that out on the firing line. That's the only safe place that will manipulate a firearm. When we're going to be out on the range and we're going to be shooting, only one person can say go, and that's me. However, everybody else can say stop or cease fire. I don't expect you to remember the words cease fire. I've been doing this for 35 years and I still have, it's still slower for me to say ceasefire than say stop. So if you see something that just doesn't look right or something that isn't safe, go ahead and call out stop and say it loudly, because obviously there's going to be gunfire, so it's going to be a loud environment. Everybody's wearing hearing protection. Most people will be wearing electronic hearing protection, so that helps. But just give us a good loud stop. If you drop anything at all, let it hit the ground. That includes your firearm. It has happened where people have presented their firearm out of the holster and they've lost that grip and the gun comes out of their hand. Just let it hit the ground. Most modern firearms are drop safe, so it's not going to be an issue. It'll get dirty, no big deal. We'll call the range clear, bend over, we'll safely pick up the firearm and reholster it. Magazines obviously always go to the ground, particularly empty magazines. And even if you're going for a reload and you drop a full magazine, just let it hit the ground, secure another magazine, put it into your firearm, and then when we're done and we've cleared the range from that string of fire, after your firearm is holstered, I'll let you bend over and pick it up. Again, do not bend over to pick anything up with an unholstered firearm at any time unless it is specifically part of the training exercise. Regarding medical, I'm in charge. Regardless of your or anybody else's medical training, I will be in charge of any situation that occurs on the range. This is my responsibility. However, if I am injured, we will designate secondary medical personnel to be responsible for my care and also to assist me if I need to provide care to anyone else. I have a medical kit that I'll be wearing on the back of my belt that includes essentially everything that you've learned in your Stop the Bleed class. So I have tourniquets, I have chest seals, gauze, wound packing materials, other types of bandage materials, so we can stop any life-threatening bleeds. We will also have a first aid kit on the firing line and also one back in the ready area. The one in the ready area has other materials such as Band-Aids and such, so if someone does cut their hand, we can fix that. However, everything on the firing line or on our person is specifically for life-threatening injuries. If we do encounter some sort of a training accident while we're out here on the range today, we're going to designate one or two people to call 911. We'll ensure that we have self-service before they do that. We do have self-service on the range. And we'll also designate a flagger. And what that person does is they will move out to the road and they will be identified during the call to 911 so that EMS can see this person and they can guide them in, again, so we can get the most expeditious response from EMS personnel. If we do have to call 911, we will call and they will ask you what the type of emergency is, and you will state that there has been a training accident at Ben Avery Shooting Facility on Practical Pistol C. We do not want to say that someone has been shot because we want to have medical personnel respond as expeditiously as possible. They will ask you more information. You will stay on the line until the EMS personnel arrive. And again, just mention that there has been a training accident on Practical Pistol C at Ben Avery Shooting Facility. If you have any questions on the line, or a malfunction, or something that you can't solve, or you need something from me, if you're able to safely holster your firearm. We have found that when people have discussions on the line, they'll become distracted, and often they'll turn towards other shooters on the line, or they'll turn towards me. So go ahead and holster your firearm if you're able to. If not, always keep your firearm in a safe direction, and that'll be down and downrange. So down towards the ground and downrange is the safest possible direction on this range. If you need to, raise your hand before calling out. So just raise your non-shooting hand. You've got one hand on your firearm in a safe direction, raise your non-shooting hand. Again, if you turn to call on me, you may sweep everybody on the range. So just stop, raise your hand, I will see you, and I'll come over and we'll work through this situation. Once we're done today on the range, everybody will clear their firearm on the range, and if needed, you'll be able to, if you're carrying that firearm for defensive carry, will allow you to reload with your defensive carry ammo. So we'll do that on the firing line. We'll do it all together, and we'll do it in a safe location. Following our training today, we will have a debrief. So we're going to talk about what we learned, talk about things that we need to work on, and anything that I can do to help you have a better experience the next time that we're together. So I need to learn from you. One of the very important and oft neglected aspect of shooting is cleaning up after we get done firing. And what I mean by that is we're going to be exposed to lead particulates, lead in the bullets that we shoot. So before you eat, before you touch your face, before you do anything like that, go to the restroom, wash your hands, and wash your face as well, just to get that off. We don't need any unnecessary lead exposure. And also, when you get home, wash your clothes. Don't go hugging your kids. And just whenever I come home, the first thing I do is I go to my room and I change clothes, and I put these in the dirty clothes bin, so that nobody else is going to be exposed to what I've been exposed to. And then the final two aspects are, let's have fun out here. This is, even though we're training for something that can save our life, we need to have fun. We need to have a positive experience, and we need to feed off each other and work with each other so that you have the best experience possible. And in order to do that, we need to stay focused. Once we show up onto the range, although we're having fun, we're going to take this quite seriously. We'll have some very serious discussions, and we just need to be able to communicate in an effective way. So stay focused, have fun. We'll see you out on the range. Dave Bremson with SafeMind.